Hopefully people will be watching live.
We are streaming, but
We'll wait for Kim.
do you guys want the lights on?
Most people think we're in the dark anyway.
I do the batteries, I can't do everything.
That's mine.
So we'll call to order the Gladstone City Commission regular meeting of July 13th, 2020. Invocation will be by myself. Lord, watch over us. Keep all of Gladstone safe as we go through our agenda tonight. Let us make good decisions, thinking about Gladstone as a whole. Amen.
Amen. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Thompson,
Here.
Commissioner Akala,
Here.
Commissioner Hunter,
Here?
Commissioner Mantala,
Here.
Commissioner Stasinski.
Excused. First up, we have the 4th Street Special Assessment District Resolution Number 2020-10-2, public hearing.
If you look inside the packet, there was a 4th Street, first base 4th Street infrastructure project estimate cost. The project costs are correct. There was we had to adjust the accessible footage a little bit after we went over the project one more time, and it ends up that estimated cost per foot will be $23.80.
Shall we open the public hearing? Anybody that would like to comment or participate in the public hearing is encouraged to call 428-6062, 428-6062 if you'd like to publicly comment on the special assessment.
Double checking to make sure we're streaming.
If you'd like to comment publicly, the number is 428-6062.
City Commission meeting, can I help you?
This is Ron Miasso, just calling in to make sure the line is clear.
All right, thank you, Ron. And you can see us on YouTube?
Yeah, not a problem.
All right, thanks.
I don't know how long we should keep this open.
Couple minutes anyway, in case somebody's
Kind of
there.
hard because they might not have gotten home yet. Right. Yeah, you could come back. I mean, if you wanted to do that or take the calls as they come, but. Because I did talk to like 4 people out there, 5 people out there.
We could go ahead and take general public comment
Yeah.
right now. If you have just general public comment in general, just call 428-6062. Anybody that would like to comment on the public hearing or public comment, please call 428-6062. Let's go ahead with the consent agenda, and if any calls come in, we'll take them. We'll just hold the public hearing open. Consent agenda, the City Commission regular meeting minutes of June 22nd, and the payment of bills.
There you go.
There we go. Sure.
Hi, you've reached the City Commission. Can you give us your name and your address, please?
It's John Ghani, 402 Delta Avenue.
And were you speaking on the special, or the 4th Street special assessment?
Yes.
Okay, you can go ahead and make your comments.
Okay. We're wondering how far away, for security purposes, the sidewalk is going to be from the garage doors and the entrance door to the garage.
Let's see it. The sidewalk will be right in line with the existing sidewalk that's further to the west.
Did you hear that reply?
All I heard, yeah, hold on.
You're probably listening to it on YouTube.
There may be a...
No, I didn't hear the reply. I'm sorry.
The city manager stated that the sidewalk would be, it wouldn't be changing anything that exists currently, that it would remain the same.
No, this is for that pie-shaped piece.
Does that make
That's
sense to you? Oh, yep, the new sidewalk. We could show you that. Yeah, you're right, because that's where that pie shape is. So we could show you where that is going to be. It will all be in the city's right of way, though.
Mhm.
So it won't come anywhere on your property itself. Does that make sense?
Eric, is that this?
Yep.
My question is it possible to push the sidewalk closer to the street as to give more leadway for security between the house and the sidewalk and the entrance doors?
I'd have to defer that to to Public Works. If you wanted to call tomorrow, I can get a hold of Barry and we can go down and meet with you and take a look at it.
Do you want to give us your phone number and we'll have somebody contact you tomorrow with that information?
That would be great, because we have a couple other questions as well. Like, is there a sidewalk going in on Railway Avenue by our house? And then there's another question as far as this pile of cement. And is it toxic? Do we know? Is there any radiation or anything being emitted from that, which is very close to our house? And the dust is blowing, and there, should it be watered down? So those are the three big things we'd like to discuss.
Okay, and what is your phone number?
The phone number is 906. This isn't being broadcast, is it? Like my phone number?
Oh, you're right, it is. I can see your phone number showing up, so I will take it down and we will give you a call tomorrow, okay?
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think we have another one queued up. Hello, you've reached the City Commission meeting. Can you state your name and address, please?
Sure, it's Jeff Rydell of 502 Delta Avenue.
Hi, Jeff. What is your comments?
Well, I feel that instead of the homeowners having a special assessment, actually it should start with more of the industrial businesses that are down at the end of Delta Avenue and Superior Avenue. Each and every one of those companies and all the companies that provide service to them, 80% more use Delta Avenue instead of a truck route for high-speed, heavy truck traffic. And that's exactly what's torn this road up and to just pieces. I can give you a whole list: a painting building, a Blando, Southwestern Oil, all the company service, like Interstate Trucking that services the casket company for the pet caskets, FedEx, UPS, it goes on, Coca-Cola, the bottling company, the uniform companies. There is no patrol of the speed on Delta Avenue. It's supposed to be a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. And daily, we have heavy truck traffic that go between 45 and up to 55 miles an hour regularly. Never once is it patrolled or diminished. There's no signage that denotes that there's be fines. There's not even any no truck signs on this road. And the truck route is very hard for them to use. The way it's set up with stop signs on it between CarQuest as they first turn left and head down it. That stop sign should be eliminated, and the side street should have to stop. A lot of reasons the trucks don't want to use that, but there's no deterrent for them not to. And even if you replace this road, in no time at all, it's just going to be destroyed, because from what I understand, you're not building it to the specs of a truck route with the subsoil and the dirt and everything, but unless it's necessary. So it's already a failed project before we even get started, unless the truck route gets changed and it's patrolled with speed and made some kind of deterrent with fines and DOTs, the sheriff, our city police, the state police are right here. They all need to start getting the traffic on the truck route, and that includes the campground traffic. All these campers come in, which are large RVs now, and they also go 45, 55 through down these terrible bumps. And it's just affecting not only the road, but the sidewalks and the rest of the infrastructure. And that's one big change that needs to be thought of before we even get assessed any money to replace the road. That's point A. Point B, it's been 35 years since this road in front of my house has been done. And the biennial taxes that have been obtained, there should be money already there if properly budgeted. Along with the state and federal grants, I was under the impression as a homeowner that this money was already there and the project is already covered by all the expenses. And I'm confused as to why they're getting a special assessment in the first place. So that's my second comment, but I really do think that I'm a resident of Richard barely 5 years now, and I feel I shouldn't have to be assessed at all. But secondly, I feel like I'm put up with a lot of truck traffic that's 100% not supposed to be here. And those are the people that should be assessed for the damage. And my last point of comment is the companies that are doing this construction in town, they should be held accountable for milling that 9th Street 8 to 9 weeks before the work was done. Everybody has vehicle damage in town, trailer damage, I could go on. They should be dock pay, and that money should go to assess for these roads for the shortfall if there is one, because they shouldn't be paid in full. Payne and Dolan is doing the job. They're the one with the asphalt canopy into the road. They should be paying the most. So if anybody needs to assess a special fee, it should be done to begin with. So those are my final comments. Thank you for the time, and I'll let somebody else speak now. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks. Go ahead and close the public comment period for the special assessment. We'll have one more call for general public comment. 428-6062.
We're supposed to comment? Apologize.
Hello, you've reached the City Commission meeting. Can you state your name and address, please?
Yep, my name is Brian Godfrey. I live at 418 Delta Avenue, and a couple of things that I have. It's Brian Godfrey, 418 Delta Avenue.
Okay, go ahead and speak your comments, Brian.
Okay, I am. It's like lagging, but so what I have is I've been informed that by the DEQ that the company Overstar did not have the proper permits to be dumping, and there is broken up cement and stuff that does have lye and different chemicals in there, so it's supposed to be watered down. I know this because I have a relative who is a plant manager at a cement factory, and also I know because of DEQ, and I wanted to know if that's been rectified, if they do have the permits now, because I don't want that blowing in my direction and me getting sick from it. And also, is there a reason why these trucks and tractors and everything are able to leave the dirt and rocks all over? Because, I mean, I got a motorcycle, that's dangerous. I got kids on bikes who, if they hit that fence and have to stop, and the other day I'm going down Main Street, and a rock was picked up by a vehicle in front of me and hit my windshield. And then, about a month ago, where if you tore up the 9th Street there, I just had $700 worth of tires put on. Just came from Escanaba, came down to the street and turned the 9th Street to go to Pat Foods, and ended up picking a 3/4 inch bolt up, which made my front right tire go flat immediately. I have it patched, but it won't hold there. I want to know who's going to pay for that, because I know I'm not the only one who's picked up stuff like that. So, and also, if we're doing a special assessment, what happened to the money? When I was at a meeting 2 years ago, there was a bunch of money there for this project. How come all of a sudden this project's going to cost us more than what was told to us 2 years ago? And what happened to the money?
Prices go up.
And that was there. You know, there's rumors going around that there was embezzlement and misappropriating funds and stuff. Where did that go? And is it going to be brought back, and why should we pay twice for this road? I mean, it's getting to the point now where the road and the rocks and the things, you know, does the DOT need to be down here monitoring the dirt and the rocks in the road? Does the DOT need to monitor the dumping and the not spraying of toxic chemicals? So these are some of the things that I have a question about. And, you know, last year I got in trouble for having my camper in my front yard because it was an eyesore. But I can look out and look at that, and City Council has no problem with that. So why, you know, these are just some of the questions that I have. That's pretty much it for me.
All right, thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
We're back to the consent agenda, the City Commission regular meeting minutes of June 22nd, and the payment of bills.
Not yet.
Yeah, take it.
Hi, you reached the city commission meeting. Can you state your name and address, please?
Diane Godfrey, 325 Delta Avenue.
Hi, Diane. Go ahead and speak your comment.
Okay, my comment is pretty much on what everybody else has already said about the money, and now all of a sudden we're reassessed, but also about that big eyesore that's across from my house, that the dust blows constantly. And I'm going to ask you a question. Would any one of you be happy if that was in your front yard? I would like you to take a ride down and take a look
not
at
in your front
exactly
yard.
what happened to that spot across there, which used to be very nice. It's just a very big eyesore, and I want to know when they're going to take it out of there or what they plan on doing with it. Someone told me that they plan on grinding it up. That is not satisfactory to grind that stuff up in this neighborhood. It shouldn't have been dumped here in the first place. They're coming from all over Gladstone and dumping things here. The dust is just terrible. The noise is terrible. And those are my comments.
All right, thank you, Diane.
Oh, yeah.
People are meeting until they meet up and calling, but
We'll give it a minute, and then we'll permanently close the public comment section.
Hi, you've reached the city commission meeting. Can you state your name and address, please?
Yes, my name is John Downey. I'm at 402 Delta Avenue.
Hi, John. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hi.
State-
I'm just curious. Everyone's making comments and stuff, but I'm not hearing any feedback from the city council at all. Is that going to be at a different meeting, or what's going to happen there?
I can give
this is
plenty of
just-
feedback now if you want.
Yeah, this is just public comment time, so once the public comment is closed, then they have an opportunity to discuss the project, and hopefully they'll address as many questions as they can from the comments that were received. Did you have any comments that you wanted to add?
Well, I just want to add, like, watching it on YouTube, you can't understand the people that call in. You can't understand a word they're saying.
Okay, we
It's all
will,
muffled.
we'll take a look at that, thank you.
All right, thank you. Bye.
That last one may have been my fault. I don't know if it sounds like on YouTube, but I forgot to turn it on.
So we'll close the public hearing. We're going to discuss this under item G of new business, though, right? Or are we going to discuss this right now?
You could discuss this right now, because this is setting the district, so it's the
Okay.
district for the project. Item G is another aspect as far as specifically the assessment, so,
Okay.
sorry.
Any discussion?
Yeah, we're damned if we do and we're damned if we don't.
That is a
We're
fact.
damned if we make the roads better in Gladstone, and we're damned if we don't. And I guess I'm getting a little fed up of hearing people complaining about hitting potholes in the city of Gladstone, when they're gonna take care of the roads, and we need something done. So we turn around and try to do something, and we still get bitched at for the fact of we're trying to do something and the roads aren't to their liking during a construction time period. You know, this project right here, if I do my math correctly, 74% of this project is being funded by other means than a special assessment. I think that's pretty good. Matter of fact, I think it's more than pretty good. It's really good that we have almost 75% of this project that's covered by grants and through the major street fund. And we're going to have special assessments. How many parcels? I didn't take time to count each one of them. How many parcels do we actually have? Okay. So see if I can do my math here really quick. 47?
47? 47?
So we have 47 parcels that are going to divvy up 125,000. Now we're doing it by available footage, I get that, right? So now we're looking at roughly 47, each one of those parcels, or excuse me, each one of those property owners, if we took it and actually did it by the property owner, it's $2,659.57 per property owner instead of the footage, right? So now we have to break it down and see how many people are actually paying more per the footage. It could be some of the business that they're talking about, and not just actual individual property owners. Either way, I think that 74% of the project being funded, other than special assessment, is pretty good. If there's anybody out there who has a better idea, I'm all ears. You can call me.
And we've not previously allocated any money to this project or special assessed, contrary to one of the comments. There's been no money embezzled or
No.
No, the special assessment prior was for a different assessment district for a different portion of the project.
Mm-hmm.
This is completely different than the prior public hearing and prior resolution that was put into effect. So this is not adding on to the prior project. This is a project that is taking place at the same time. We're actually saving money by doing this one right now while we have that manpower and equipment on hand to do it. If we did this 5-10 years down the road when it was really, really bad, this would cost much more than the assessment of $125,000.
Yeah, and and I know 9th Street is rough, but there are alternate routes. You do not have to go down 9th Street. And I frequently walk and I see people going down 9th Street. They're going about 35 miles an hour and they're just beating the hell out of their vehicles. And really it's not anybody's fault but their own. I mean, I find alternate routes. I've not driven down 9th Street but once since it's been milled off, and I'm looking forward to when I can drive down it and it's nice and smooth. But in the meantime, I just take my time and work around it. I know it's an inconvenience, but construction projects always are. The bridge, when they did the bridge over the Escanaba River, that was a major inconvenience, but it's the price of progress. And, the same thing on the way to Rapid River. It's no fun to go down to 2 lanes that are really tight together with bidirectional traffic, but you have to do it if you're going to make progress.
Now, one of the other questions that I listened to was something about worrying with the DEQ. Does anybody have any idea what that's about?
It's, we had another phone call, and I had a question into the engineer on that, on the pit run concrete they're pulling out of 9th Street, and they haul it down and they're storing it there, and then, I'm not sure what their plans are with that concrete, but I know it's not staying there. They're gonna haul it away by the end of the summer.
No, I figured that, but there was something about a proper permit from I would imagine our engineering company would have gone through and needed to have all the permits that were required, if any. I mean, I guess I'm not sure what the concern is as far as contamination of the concrete. That was one of the questions, I think. Anybody hear that?
Radioactivity was mentioned too.
Right.
I don't know how that would become radioactive.
Watching too many shows.
Familiar with that.
No, my dad, he is 83 years old, and out of 83 years, he probably spent 65 years doing concrete. I don't know of anything, of any chemicals that is in concrete that is causing any type of concern. None. I think I heard something about lime. That's an additive. It's in a very small proportion of the concrete mixture. So I guess I'm not understanding what the concern is as far as any lime and having the proper DEQ permits. So that's a new one to me.
We have her number, and I will do some research on that and get back with her, find out for sure.
And my dad lived 83 years, and he works concrete 65 of them. I think he should be, if anything, he'd be dead by now. God.
As far as being an eyesore, and it is an eyesore, but it's a construction project, and it's going to be done before this fall.
You're exactly
It's going
right.
to be noisy. That's zone industrial, that property. So I remember at one time they were looking at putting a lime kiln in there. One of the other things the gentleman asked why his taxes aren't going for the paving of the roads. It was about 25 years ago that Delta was paved in that stretch, and taxes don't pay for roads. That's paid by the Major Street Fund, which is funded through state taxes that we receive. And on that project, the total estimated project's $490,000. The federal, it's called the STP grant. It's administered by MDOT, and they will pay 80%, and so they're paying $320,000, and then the rest is split between Major Street and the 4th Street Special Assessment.
See, I like Eric's math better. He said 80%. That's why I'm a cop and not anybody smarter.
Did we kind of cover all the questions? I think we did, eh? Any other discussion or comments?
I think the project is going along really well. Yes, there is an inconvenience, but as everyone has stated earlier, when you do something of this major project, you're going to have inconvenience. But try to keep in mind the finished project and how much nicer it's going to be for everyone.
That was actually a little more eloquently said than myself. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I liked it when I could just zip right down Ninth Street too, but I know that time will return. Any other discussion before we move on? We don't need a motion or anything on that, do we?
Yeah, we need to approve the district.
Okay.
I'd make a motion to approve Resolution 2020-10-02.
I'll support.
We have a motion by Commissioner Mantel, a support by Commissioner Hunter to approve resolution number 2020-10-2. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. Next up, we have the consent agenda. City Commission regular meeting minutes, June 22nd, and the payment of bills.
See the payment of bills. Most of the bills are for upgrades at the substation. And then the Payne and Dolan invoice is for their first run through town. They did some patches down in the down by the harbor and on Lakeshore Drive and several other places, but then that'll be split up between the different departments that got patched up by Payne and Dolan.
All of these were budgeted items.
Yes, so far there is
Yes.
going to the substation and probably the next meeting, we're gonna bring a change order to you, so it's gonna be we're gonna have to do a budget amendment because of some stuff that got repaired that wasn't budgeted.
Make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
I support.
A motion by Commissioner Mantel, a support by Commissioner Hunter to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. Next up, under new business, we have the Nexum pilot project, Eco Belt System.
Yes, what we plan on doing is Nexum, they're gonna bring in, the RBF unit, and we're gonna set it up at the plant. We're gonna run a 2-week trial to get information to present to Eagle. And this will be part of the project plan going forward in the fall of 2021. We are looking at installing 3 of these units to replace the current primary clarifier, and there would be an additional primary clarifier installed if we do not go this route. As you can see, the pilot study is $13,500. If we do go with their product, they will give us a complete refund on this pilot project that we're doing. We are looking at possibly doing it starting the week of August 10th.
This is RBF. It's a rotating
Belt filter.
Belt
It would
filter.
be kind of comparable to the screen on a paper machine before it goes through, before it hits the cans. All it does is it filters out the total solids. Approximately 50% of the total solids will be removed from the water, and about 30% of the BOD will be removed from the water. So it's replacing the primary clarifier is what it's doing.
Is it more, are you saying it's more efficient than the clarifier?
Studies have shown that it is, but every plant, is a little different as far as what's coming into the plant is the raw sewage, as far as the suspended solids and BODs. So that's why we're doing a pilot study to show Eagle that it is capable of performing at that 50%, 30%.
So it'll reject the solids?
Yep, it'll screen the solids right out.
And how long will that last? How long is the project?
They are looking at the machine itself. There's a 5-year warranty on the machine. There's 3-year warranty on some of the parts. They're going to give us some parts to keep on stock if we do purchase the equipment.
This would replace the need to add a clarifier, is that what you're saying?
It would replace the need for adding a second primary clarifier. Currently, we have 1 primary clarifier, and when we take that down for maintenance, we have to get special permit from Eagle because we would be bypassing one of our processes. The current clarifier that's in there now was put in 30s, I believe. So if we went the 2 clarifier route, that one would definitely have to be rehabbed. And by using the RBFs, we figured it was going to save approximately $2 million.
These take up a lot less real estate?
And it'll take up, yes, one of these, I believe the square footage is 78 square feet. It takes up, so what we're looking at doing is, instead of extending on the north side of the building for the second primary clarifier, we're looking at removing the biodiscs, and these 3 units would sit right where the first 2 biodiscs are, basically.
Does this eliminate the need for the two biodiscs then, or what would happen in the in
There's
that
a
process?
different system that we're looking at to replace the biodiscs, which will be
I recall you.
MBBR, myobed, biofilm reactors. And it's similar to the biodiscs, but it just puts in little discs in the tank for the growth to grab onto instead of the big turning disc. So it would get rid of all the gear reducers and all the motors that are currently operating the biodiscs that we have.
And if you utilized this belt system, you'd be able to put that and the new biodisc system in the existing footprint of the building? Because you're saying if you
The
have
MBBR system would actually go on the outside of the building
okay.
where the greenhouse is
Okay.
currently. It's either putting in the MBBR or we'd have to put in a third train of biodiscs for our biological treatment. So then we would have 9 discs, 9 motors, 9 gear reducers. With the MBBR tanks, all we have is basically a blower supplying air to it, and water goes through it with the pumps.
Is 2 weeks' time adequate to make an assessment of how effective this will be?
Yes, we're going to have to grab daily samples on total suspended solids. We're doing everything in-house as far as lab work, except for there's one test that we have to send out to ALS, and that's going to involve metals that would come off of the rotating belt filter.
Is anybody else around here running one of these?
There's, I believe, currently 2 in the state. Escanaba actually did a pilot study 3 years ago, I believe it was, on the same piece of equipment. So we're hoping to get similar results with what they had. They did not end up going this route. I don't know the exact reasons why the superintendent at Esky didn't go this route, but I have talked to him and he does like the product. If we did go with the second primary clarifier too, then we would also have to add a grit removal system, which the rotating belt filter removes grit for us too. So that would be expanded off the west side of the building. So we would be saving on, we wouldn't have to build that second primary clarifier plus that the grit removal system.
Bottom line is if this comes in the way you're hoping it does, and once you look at the data objectively, you're looking at saying possibly saving $2 million?
Yeah.
And if it, could it fall somewhere in the middle, like it's working like about 80% of what we thought? Would it still, could we still use this equipment, or what level of effectiveness are you looking for?
We're looking at least that 50%, 30%.
50%?
Yeah.
Okay. I know I've done this I've rented equipment to try in my business, and this is nothing new. It's just a different process, a different plant where the manufacturer will bring something in for you to try. Some of it I've purchased, some of it I've sent back. Just didn't work. And you never really know until you try it. Sometimes you get surprised and something works much better than you think, and then other times you have really high hopes and it just doesn't fit into your process the way you thought it would. I think this is a good expenditure to try this. The potential for savings here for the bit what we're looking to expend is substantial.
During this 2-week study, the one unit that we're getting will probably be able to handle almost all the flow we're getting to the plant. So we should get a good representative samples from what's coming out of this piece of equipment. So we should get some pretty good reliable data.
I'd make a motion that we approve the Nexum pilot project using the Eagle Belt system at a cost of $13,500.
I'll support.
Any other discussion? I have a motion by myself, support by Commissioner Mantala. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. Thanks, Rodney.
You're welcome.
Next up, we have the C2AE Engineering Services Administrative Consent Order from Eagle.
Currently, right now, we are negotiating the administrative consent order with Eagle. We are looking to have C2AE assist us with this order. There's going to be some engineering involved with parts of the consent order. This 7,000 will be used for the I&I study, a plant operations manual for the newer plant we're getting, and what was the third one? The start of possibly having to do an SSES study. And I know we talked about the I&I study and SSES study before. And C2AE, they're very familiar with our system. They're very, very familiar with the plant itself. And hopefully, in the near future, we will hear back from Eagle and see what they had to say with our response to theirs on the consent order.
In the breakdown of the budget and for the charges there, you had $4,000 preparing corrective action plan. Could that amount change then depending on what the findings come back from Eagle?
On that I&I study, yes, I think the first two, I don't know. I don't think that those will change. I think that'll probably be what we'll end up getting billed for.
So you're talking about the last item there, the $500 that could change?
Yeah. Eagle's in the process of reviewing that I&I study that we had done under the SAW grant, and they have not gave us any response back on that I&I study yet, so we're hoping that the first I&I study we sent them is going to cover everything that they requested in the ACO.
Would it be feasible to wait until we hear back, or are we not want to do
We know
that?
we have to do the first two
The first
that are on
two,
the
right.
list. Yes.
I'm just wondering, instead of coming back and visiting this again, if we get it in the Eagle findings in 2 weeks, are we going to be revisiting this for, a change in approval funds if it comes back different? Or is this something we need to move on the first two now? On the ACO and the corrective action plan?
As far as the I&I study that they're reviewing, there's different people that are reviewing the ACO to that I&I study. The ACO is more coming from Lansing, and we're dealing with Chris Kahn from Lansing down there. And the I&I study is up in Marquette being reviewed by the local district engineer, Tom Asmus, and the UP engineer, Scott Richards. So I don't know if how well they're communicating with each other. As far as the I&I study that we sent through the SAW grant is not totally connected with that ACO, is the way I understood it. They might be adding more stuff to that I&I study that we sent to them. I don't know exactly when Chris Kahn is going to get back with us from Eagle. Or for that matter, the UP office with the I&I study that we sent in. I believe we sent that in March, and they still have not responded to that study.
The way that we also are looking at it is that from the consent order for what happened with the overflow, Eagle has the ability to fine us for $44,800.
Okay. I guess that answers part of my question.
Yeah,
Is
and so we have,
we need to move on it.
we have our attorney, and we have, along with C2AE, and then ourselves, and the three of us, Rodney and I, and there's 3 or 4 of the engineers, and Miller Canfield, and you work together, and we punch out how we want, because a consent order can last a number of years and can be real costly, and that's what we don't want, so.
I think it shows due diligence also on the part of the city.
I'll make a motion to approve the proposal for engineering services, assistant with ACO from C2AE for $7,000.
Support.
A motion by Commissioner Hunter, support by Commissioner Akala, to approve the proposal for engineering services. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried.
Thank you.
Next up, we have the Public Safety Officer contract.
Okay, Mayor Joe and Commissioner Gregg and I work with the public safety officers and going through, and we started way back in March, and then COVID happened, and so it sort of got put on the back burner. They sort of got put last because they are allowed to get retro pay, so there was no worry of losing out for them. And so the changes that are highlighted, the main changes is it's a 3% wage increase each year of the 3-year contract. Their a shift increase from 30 cents to 50 cents for the second shift, 50 to 75 for the third shift. It's $50 per week deposited in a health savings plan, which is something we started doing with when we got rid of the health care and the post-retirement health care. And they're the last group to get in on that. And they added a beneficiary clause because the people that were here when the dinosaurs roamed the earth, that still had the health care, they started a buyout at the last contract, and they just wanted the protection that if they were to pass away, that the remainder of the buyout would go to their beneficiary. And the last was the birthday holiday increase from 8 to 12 hours because they are on 12-hour shifts. I also added at the very back, this is the K-9 agreement. We talked about it during this is the agreement that Ron and Ryan had worked out for being in charge of the dog. If you look through the contract, the changes are highlighted. The first page, the recognition, security, and union deductions. That is a change in the old contract, in that this is just what is allowable under Michigan federal law. A lot of that had to be changed because it was outdated. right to manage stayed the same. The eligibility for sick leave payout was cleaned up in the contract, so they can also, if they have been here and are of retirement age, they can get 25% of their sick leave, or they can contribute it to their employee health care savings plan, which would benefit the employee and the employer. And on to page 10, that is where the birthday floating holiday was added. And page 12, 13.3, that's the change in the shift premium that was noted earlier. Page 13, there was never a definition of defined contribution retirement, although we did have one in the personnel policy manual, and the question had come up when they were legally of a retirement age and when they can get start getting their buyouts and when they could actually leave and still get their 25%. And so this is the standard one that we've used, the age plus your years of service equals 65 years. Then you have the beneficiary language and the healthcare savings account language. Health savings account. Other than that, just the date and wage schedule, Schedule A, changed to reflect the 3% increase. And that is it. Are there any questions?
I would make a motion that we accept the contract as proposed.
Support.
A motion by myself, support by Commissioner Mantala. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. Next up, we have the Public Safety Command Officer's contract.
The command officers, the two command officers get, they were getting 10% and they negotiated to get 11% above the PSO rate. That's the way the command officer's always been paid. Pretty much follow the PSO contract. They got the same shift increases, the same healthcare savings plan, same beneficiary. One thing they did negotiate was an extra hour of vacation per pay period. And if you go through the contracts and you see the pages pretty much follow each other, the only difference between the two is the 11%, of course, for the command officers. Their vacation schedule is different due to past negotiating. The promotion procedure is a little bit different in that the director has a lot, will take the three best candidates, and it's a little different than when they're hiring a new PSO. And the longevity is a little bit different in that in the PSO contract, you have to have 5 years in before you collect your Christmas check. For the command officers, that's in there right away, which isn't really a big effect because usually to get to the command, you have more than 5 years then. And in there, the defined benefit, command officer pays 1% of his MERS defined benefit, and the PSOs pay 3%.
I make a motion to authorize the city manager and mayor to approve the contract.
Support.
A motion by Commissioner Mantle is supported by Commissioner Hunter to approve the Public Safety Command contract. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. Next up, we have the electric department truck purchase.
You have before you a quote from Gorno Ford for $32,879. That is for a 3/4 ton extended cab four-wheel drive truck. This comes about due to an accident by the recreation department, and we thought it would be a good idea to recycle our standard cab truck to them, which they would love. They'd have a use for it, and it would get us into the truck that we really needed when we got this one. We carry a lot of stuff, rain gears, locators, different meters, and that stuff's all got to be kept dry. So we're hoping to take this opportunity to do that, and it'll be partially offset by $5,700 insurance money, $10,000 from the recreation budget this year, and another $5,000 next year. The approximate book value on that truck was around 21, so that brings it real close.
You were gonna budget a new pickup for next year
Yeah.
anyway, so it's
Correct.
it's just pushing it a year ahead. And the rec department will get a little better, safer truck than what they were driving.
Are they scrapping the old one? Oh, that was,
It was
that's
T-boned
T-boned, yeah.
at the red light.
That's right.
Is this is the truck that's going to work for you now?
Yes.
Okay.
This will be just perfect.
Make the motion to purchase a truck from Gorno Food. Ford. Some masks. Breathing the carbon dioxide. I'm going. I'm telling you, I'm going.
I'll support. Motion by Commissioner Hunter, support by myself to authorize the approval, or approve the purchase of the truck. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. Next up, we have appoint election workers.
So we do have an election August 4th. This is standard procedure when we have an election. We will be having precinct 1 here at City Hall, precinct 2 up at the ski hill as normal, and then also AV counting board for precincts 1 and 2, and that will be over in the electric department conference room. So I just need authorization to appoint the necessary workers.
Are we unfortunately taking Cooper off the list?
Yeah, he told me the other day.
I would make a motion that we appoint the election workers as presented.
Support.
I have a motion by myself, support by Commissioner Akala to approve the election workers. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried.
Thank you.
Next up, we have resolution number 2020-11-03, the 4th Street Special Assessments.
This is, maybe Kim can explain it better because I get my resolutions mixed up.
So this would be the next resolution for the 4th Street assessment. So we had Resolution 1, which established the district, set a public hearing for that, which we held tonight. You approved Resolution 2, accepting that as establishing the district. So now the next step in that process is this Resolution number 3, which then authorized the city resolution to authorize the city assessor to prepare an assessment roll and certify it to me in my office, which has happened, and you have a copy as well. And so this would be setting within that district the assessment roll and to set a public hearing to hear public comment from people or the general public on that assessment roll. And we'd be recommending to do that July 27th at 6 p.m.
So this one is to actually now set the amount of the assessment, correct?
So this identifies every parcel owner in there with, the assessment, so.
With the assessments, yep.
And interested, letters will go out, with the notice that is attached within the resolution. You'll see to each of the property owners an ad in the paper, giving them the opportunity to come speak on that.
I'd make a motion to set the public hearing for the Special Assessment Resolution 2020-11-3 for July 27th meeting.
Support.
We have a motion by Commissioner Mantala, support by Commissioner Hunter. Do we need a roll call on this one? No?
I can do the by voice and list it out on the resolution, but.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried.
Thank you.
Next up, we have the city manager's report.
We had the addition to the agenda.
I was talking
First
to the public on
responder,
there. I
yeah.
don't think they took a motion on that to add it yet.
It's on that sheet right there.
I didn't have a
Okay.
chance to
It's in
talk to the
yellow.
mayor, so,
Very bottom.
before we started the meeting.
Well, Next up, we have the first responders hazard pay premiums program application.
If we could add that to the agenda. Sorry, I was taking care
I'd
of
make
the
a motion to
public.
add that to the agenda.
Support.
We have a motion by Commissioner Mantala, support by Commissioner Hunter to add the first responder hazard pay premiums program application to the new business agenda for tonight.
Is it, oh,
Are you speaking on that?
yep, I can. Sorry, I was lost in a thought. Anyway, what happened was, like a lot of the COVID stuff, it comes running down the barrel at, it was like Thursday or Friday. They had a video conference and he said you can get the forms at this site and you have to fill them out and initial them, and we have to have them by a certain date. And each applicant is $1,000 per eligible employee, and for us, that would be our public safety officers, and it would be a complete grant. I was saw that you could apply for up to $5 million. I thought, is there a police force that has 5,000 police officers on it? I thought, wow, that's a big police force.
New York, but
So
This is from the state, though.
We have not done any hazard pay yet, and Ryan Peterson actually filled this out, and
Aaron Quinlan, not Ryan.
Aaron, sorry, I mixed the two up all the time. Aaron filled it out, and he notes that, as it was worded on the front, that if we don't get it, they won't be getting the $1,000 either, so. Because we'll be using the second option of receiving the monies, and paying our workers. So Vicki and Aaron were working on this last Friday.
They just opened this up then,
Yeah.
this week.
Yeah.
They also had the what was it, the CARE? The CARE grant, which we've put in for all the overtime for public safety also. And that we got that one in.
Well, this is just, we got to get in line for this,
Yep.
because I know how fast this goes. I'd make a motion to allow the treasurer to sign the application for the first responder hazard pay premium program.
Support.
Motion by Commissioner Mantle, support by Commissioner Akala to allow the city treasurer to sign the application. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. Now we're to the city manager's report.
See, working with Miller Canfield and C2AE on our response letter to Eagle. And regarding the consent order, worked with POLC. Hal and I have been talking a lot because of all the typos and trying to get a contract that was good and could be used into the future, and I think we're pretty close to having that. The ones you approved today, there's some minor things in there that we'll have to change at the next time it gets negotiated. Renee and I have been working with Miller Canfield on the Housing Commission PILT ordinance. And we've been going back and forth with the developer on that. I think we're fairly close to having that done. I've also been working with our attorney Don Bacon on the easement services agreement that we agreed to get the extra funding for the easement or the services, whatever way we look at it, so our general fund won't be out any money. Had a progress meeting last week on 9th Street. All the utilities are almost done except for a little bit of storm and the force main work. Right now, as you can tell, 9th Street is the focus, and they are going to work, and they really came up with a good plan on how, because it bottlenecks there. They wanted to make sure that Holiday and Pat's and the other businesses along there wouldn't be hurt, and they've been really working with the businesses good, and that's been working out. So they're going to do the first 3 blocks, finish it off, get it to gravel grade, and then hop around so they'll be able to get to those businesses from another route. They're not going to do a big chunk of 5 blocks, so you have to do a 5-block detour. Let's see. Payne and Dolan came back and caught up did some more paving on mostly on Superior Avenue. If you notice, right outside our building was also paved. They'll be back one more time before the final paving, the end of this month. Baco also has been back, catching up on the curb and gutter and sidewalks. Project is on schedule, and there will be a couple change orders that we'll be bringing to the next meeting. And the good thing is the one is a pretty big change order that's in our favor. So, and working with Janice on the 9th Street and the 4th Street special assessment numbers. And that's all I have.
Next up, we have the city commissioner comments. Commissioner Mantola.
I'd just like to thank the folks for calling in with their concerns tonight with the project. I completely understand with the frustrations and with all the other stresses that are going on right now, how people are feeling. I truly do. And I just ask for the patience. I know we've been hearing that for months and months, but as some of the other commissioners mentioned, the end result of this is going to be fantastic, and it's going to last for decades. So we just ask for that patience and keep paying attention, and let us know what you think, and keep the goal in mind. So that's all I had. Thank you.
Commissioner Hunter.
No, I'm good, thank you.
Commissioner Akala.
Nothing further.
Yeah, I'd like to encourage people to be patient too. I know that, You know, these construction projects are never great. They don't look pretty, but in the long run, they're very beneficial because we'll have some decent streets in this town for the next 30 years, I hope. That's all I've got. City clerk comments?
Just an update, there was some CARES funding available for elections that I did take advantage of. So depending on how many precincts you had, determined the level of money that you were receiving at no cost. But it was items that were on an approved list by the state that you could put in to purchase. So because we have 2 precincts and an AV counting board, I could spend up to $3,000. So I took advantage of what I could on that list. So we'll see what we get, if anything. And then I also submitted for, it's for a 50% grant for an additional tabulator, which would be important in our, and we'd have to use it in our AV counting board. Right now I have 1 to process both precincts 1 and 2. And the idea behind that grant is that as more people are voting by absent voter ballots, we could process in less time by having 2 tabulators. On the rare time, like for a city commission election where I don't have a counting board, that would provide an additional backup tabulator as well. So we did submit for that grant. So that's all I have.
So we're adjourned.
Alrighty.